Thank you for joining our February informational webinar, What Can the Think College Centers Do for You? My name is Drew Andrews. This webinar is being recorded. Handouts can be downloaded from the chat section, which can be accessed by clicking the chat icon, which is a small speech bubble at the bottom of the Zoom window. Closed captioning can be accessed at the bottom of the Zoom screen under live captioning. If you have difficulty hearing the presentation, phone numbers that can be used to call and join the audio via phone while following the slides online will also be posted in the chat window. Our presenters today are, first, Dr. Danny Roberts-Dahm. Danny is the project coordinator of the Think College Inclusive Higher Education Network. She leads project implementation, including regional partnership development, training and technical assistance, and dissemination. Prior to Think College, Danny served in leadership roles at an inclusive post-secondary program and a state technical assistance center focused on the transition of students with disabilities in Florida. Danny's work has been focused on the development of inclusive college opportunities for students with disabilities. Also presenting today is myself for a very few slides with my involvement with the Inclusive Higher Education Network, and I am the Assistant Director at the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. And I am working with the Career Technical Education Collaborative Work Group. So at this time, we will begin our webinar, and I'll turn it over to Danny. Danny, welcome.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I fast forwarded the slides. My mouse just took over. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. It's great to be here. As Drew said, I see a lot of familiar names and faces on the screen. I'm from Florida. I was formerly at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg campus with the UMatter program, and we had a program in the early 2010s as well, a college-based transition services program, and then also had a hat with the Project 10 Transition Education Network. So it's good to see a lot of friends and a few new names. Yeah, it's good to be here. So today I'm going to talk to you about what Think College can do for you. We have 2 centers, and I'll talk to you all about that and just try to make you more aware of the services and resources that are available to you from the national centers. So what is Think College? We're national technical assistance centers, 2 of them now, focused on technical assistance, research, and evaluation. And our whole focus is improving inclusive higher education programs for people with intellectual disabilities. We're actually several projects. We're a collective of several projects. The 2 biggest and most resource centers are the National Coordinating Center and the Inclusive Higher Education Network. So that will be the focus of what we'll talk about today. But be sure to check out our website, thinkcollege.net. We also have a transition leadership graduate certificate, if that's something of interest to you, and also have some curricula and really awesome virtual reality supports for elementary and middle school, and that's the Future Quest Island Exploration. Just out of curiosity, how many of you, if you could just raise your hand you can use your little reaction or you can use your screen. Have you been to our website before, thinkcollege.net? And I've got to get to my screen where I can see. Okay, see a couple thumbs up, couple yeses. Cool. Well, good. So it looks like maybe about half of folks have been. So even if you have been here before, well, thank you, first of all, but I'll teach you a little bit about what else we have to offer, like that you may not have known about. So what are the centers that I'm talking about? And especially I say center, and you all are probably thinking the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. And you're really fortunate and lucky to have such an amazing state level center. Like most states don't have that. So I know you all have your amazing resources at your fingertips already. And this is just another level of support that's out there for you. So on the left side of the screen in the orange is the National Coordinating Center, and they've been around since 2010, and they've been mostly focused on the what's called the TIPSEA projects. the transition and post-secondary ed programs for students with intellectual disabilities. And those are the model demonstration projects that have been funded. They've gone in 3 different cycles, starting in 2010, a second cohort in 2015, and a third cohort in 2020. And so the National Coordinating Center is just that, the ones that coordinate and evaluate those projects. They also have done a ton more. They've gone way beyond what they had to do to support this field. And then the new center, the Inclusive Higher Ed Network, is in like the I call it teal, but the greenish bluish on the right. And we're the new kids on the block in terms of National Technical Assistance Centers. We were funded in October of 2021, so just about a little over a year old. And we're also supporting this work just right alongside the National Coordinating Center, but really looking beyond just the TPSIDs and supporting any and all institution of higher education that is interested in starting a program, who has a program, just, is dipping their toes into the water of supporting people with intellectual disabilities to go to college. We're also taking some unique approaches to the work, and I'll talk about that on this slide. So what do these 2 centers do? As I mentioned, the National Coordinating Center focused on the evaluation of TPSIDs. They've also been tasked with accreditation for this whole entire field, not just TPSIDs. And you'll hear more about resources on that later. They have also provide on-demand, free, complimentary technical assistance through a help desk email. They also have built a very robust website focused on all kinds of pubs to disseminate and searchable resources, and just developing an amazing community of IPSEs. And I should not say IPSEs all the time. What I mean is college programs for people with intellectual disability. IPSE is inclusive post-secondary programs for students with intellectual disability. Just one of the many ways that we refer to the work. And then, so what does the network, the new Inclusive Higher Education Network, do? So our sort of end goals are the same as the National Coordinating Center, but we're approaching some of this work in a couple different ways. One is through a public awareness campaign, and we have an exciting launch to tell you about in April. But that's really targeted nationwide and looking to develop resources that you all can use to help spread the word, that each program can help spread the word about these programs. We're also really focused on state and regional alliance development. Not every state is as fortunate as Florida in this area. Some don't have any state organizer around this work. And in Florida, you have both a super strong center and an awesome regional alliance. So I'll tell you a little more about that too, the regional aspect, and we're trying to replicate that nationwide. And then we're really looking at undersourced areas in this field, and those 2 areas that we identified from the literature, but also the reality of where programs are career and technical education, CTE. And that's where we came to the Florida Center and Drew and recruited him to lead our work group on that. And then also building those employment partnerships across agencies to the inclusive post-secondary programs and beyond to support employment for our students. And then we also do technical assistance, but we're really focused on sustainability and developing training resources that programs and anybody can use. And then lastly, really exciting, if you're like me, you're probably part of several professional organizations, but you kind of have a very specific job that applies to about 25% of that organization. So we're really focused on developing a member organization for people who are staffing, developing, supporting people with intellectual disabilities to go to college. So our very own member org. So the bulk of this presentation is what can we do for you? And we sort of divided up our resources and services depending on what's your main role or what you might be coming to this webinar to learn. And so I should also mention, if you have questions, I know I talk fast and I have a lot of slides. You're welcome to put any questions in the chat, and I'll try to keep an eye on that, or I'm sure Drew or somebody will let me know. And I'm here for you, so let me know. So the first sort of group of people we were thinking about in terms of gathering some resources for were high school transition teachers. Are there any high school transition teachers on this call? You could raise your hand or give me a thumbs up or something. I don't see any yet, but you probably work with some. Maybe they help recruit for your program, or you have that relationship with your local school district. So you certainly probably know a transition teacher or two. And so you might want to share different resources with them to help answer some of these questions. Like, how does college preparation connect to an IEP? What can I do now to support students to start thinking about college? Well, we have all kinds of resources for that. First off, and probably one of our most frequently visited web pages is our college search. So it's the only national free open database that has all the college programs that support people with intellectual disability across the nation. The map is also really cool because it's updated all the time. So this snapshot was taken when there were 313 programs. That changes on the daily. Sometimes we lose a program, sometimes we gain 3. And then you can also see sort of the numbers in terms of a number of programs by state. And shout out to us in Florida. I think we're in second place, just next to New York. So we're really rocking it out in terms of having these programs. And we've been a leader in Florida for years in this field. So yay for Florida. But you can also filter the search by different criteria. If you're looking for programs that are dual enrollment that serve both secondary and post-secondary, if you're looking for some that offer federal financial aid that are CTP approved, if you're looking for something that has housing, you can filter by all of those sort of program features, as well as by state. And you can save your search too. We also have resources for, okay, so there's 313 programs out there. Where do I start? That's a common question we get from families and students. So we have a really robust, user-friendly guide on conducting a college search. And so that's what you see here as a screenshot. This is a great tool for educators to sort of have at their fingertips, but also to share with students and families too during those transition years. And we also provide technical assistance. And so if you email thinkcollegeta, like technical assistance @gmail.com, you'll get a response in 24 to 48 hours. And we have a very long list of technical assistance providers that have specific focus areas. So really any question you pose to us, we can share something or offer to set up a meeting and provide more information. And so the next sort of group of folks that we were pulling out some resources and highlights for were college program staff. And so I'm guessing there's a lot of college program staff. So those that are, program directors, assistant directors, support folks on this call. And so there's lots of questions that you may all have. Yeah, I see a couple raised hands for that. There's a lot on our minds. I was a former director. I totally know. We're doing everything. So things around CTP, accreditation, what should I be doing with VR? Thinking about supporting our students financially, or how our students are getting to college and paying for college, and concerns around employment. We have all kinds of resources on all of those things. So my first recommendation is to join an affinity group. We have about 12 or 13 now, and these are a pretty big sampling of what we have to offer. One that's really and I don't see it on here at the moment, but we have one around credentials, which is a really hot topic for program directors, making sure that students are able to work towards meaningful credentials. And that's a great affinity group, a great way to get to know what other folks are doing across the country. You might be wondering, what is an affinity group? And it's basically a group of people either in like a similar role, like if you're a graduate student or the early career researchers, or emerging advocates, you're kind of like in there because have a similar background or in a certain position, or you're a student, kind of joining together, focused on inclusive post-secondary ed, or you're interested in a specific part of this big work. And so you can come, there's usually a presenter and then some facilitated discussion or resource sharing. It's a great way to just start to get ideas beyond your program or even beyond the folks that you know. And you also get access to a lot of past meetings and just like lots of models and resources, just ways to think about things. So I highly, highly recommend that. They happen usually quarterly. Some of them meet a little bit more frequently, but it's you sign up and you can come when you can, and you'll get an update even if you can't make it with notes. We also have resources by topic pages. And so these are designed to be a one-stop shop on a particular topic. With a really selected group of featured resources and sort of news and updates. And so we have a couple handfuls of those, everything from accreditation to voc rehab. We have a brand new page coming up soon on state alliances and actually and CT, career and technical education, CTE. So we're always adding, but it's a great way to find just kind of everything you might want to know about a specific topic. So for program directors, you might be thinking about a program staff accreditation or improving your academic access. Those might be some great resources by topic pages for you. Are there any students on this meeting? And if not, surely you all work with students. So you might want to be supporting students to think more about advocacy or connect with other students that are in a program like this. And so we do have resources for that. We have several publications that are focused on capturing student voices and written at more of a student level. Things like the Student College Resource Guide or our Student Stories section. We also have, it's kind of like an affinity group, but it's called our Emerging Advocates Group. It's led by Liz Weintraub from the Association of University Centers on Disabilities. They meet, I think, every quarter, usually in the evening, like when it's more convenient for students, and they talk about all kinds of things around advocacy and success stories. They usually highlight like graduates or people that have had success in the realm of advocacy. So you could share that as an opportunity for your students. We're also excited to be launching a speakers network. And it'll be called the Think College Ambassadors. We're piloting some work around this in later this spring, early summer. And so the premise behind it is to start to be able to offer training to people with intellectual disabilities who are going to college and have found that they actually they might want to be a public speaker. And so they'll get all kinds of tools to craft their message, and also sort of the business behind becoming a professional speaker, even if it's not full time, but just knowing how to negotiate a contract and to make sure you're prepared and have all the details you need to have a speaking engagement. And then we'll also, on the other side of things, work with organizations to help curate speaking events. A lot of professional development organizations are always looking for students to tell their story. And so we're trying to work on both sides of supply and demand there, and open that opportunity for our students and also alumni. It's not just for current students. I'm just checking the chat. Okay, I don't think anything there. Families. So are there any families on the call? And again, you can raise your hand or react in the chat. Well, I'm sure that a lot of you work with families and have interactions with families at least daily. I know I did when I was working in a program. And so a lot of them are learning that college is an option for their son or daughter for the very first time. And so they want to know like where to start. And we have resources for that. We actually have a student and family section right on our landing page. You can see it in the top left bar, kind of left center of the page. And then we have similar to a resource by topic page, just curated resources just for families. It includes videos, it includes a lot of visuals and highlighting some of those student stories I talked about a few minutes ago. And then really exciting and kind of a newer addition is our Facebook group, Families Think College. So this is a closed group, kind of moderated by Think College. Like we definitely, it is closed, so you have to be a family member of somebody with an intellectual disability, but there are over 800 members, and it really, really blossomed during the pandemic when, online interactions really did. But it's a great way to connect and get referrals, families really talking to families about their experiences. And it's amazing to see the advice that, a parent will give to another family member about the college that maybe their son or daughter is attending. It's a great opportunity. Any researchers or graduate students on the meeting? Well, I'm sure a lot of, oh yeah, hey Melanie, I see you. That's great. And it's super hard work. And we really want to support the researchers and upcoming early career professionals out there in this emerging field. And so we have 3 different affinity groups that might be of interest. The research group, anybody can join. You don't have to be early career professional or even a doc student or anything like that. It's been around for a long time. I want to say since it was one of the first affinity groups we had. And it's just a great way to stay abreast of what's going on in the field and see some of the publications and journal articles that have come out is really, really encouraging because we're quickly building a really strong evidence base for this field. And then if you're early career researcher, like an early faculty member or looking towards a career in that area, we have a brand new affinity group for you focused on that. It's sort of an offshoot of the research affinity group, and same with the graduate student. And if you're, I know a lot of programs have graduate students working on working with your students and working on your programs. I highly recommend them to get connected. It's just a great community and support system to make those kinds of connections in a really specific field like IPSE. So the National Coordinating Center has a lot of data at their fingertips, and they do a lot of cool things with it. So they're always collecting data from the TIPSIDs. Remember, those are those federally funded model demonstration projects, and they collect 3 different types of data. Program level data, which is things like their operations, staffing, the budget, kind of funding mechanisms. Also student level data, which they have some basic data that's collected once, also annual data like course enrollments, jobs, supports that they're receiving, and also their status at exit. How are they employed? Where are they living? Those kinds of things. And then TIPSIDs are also required to submit follow-up data where they're following up the students 1 year after they graduate and reporting on their employment, continuing or further education, and living situation. And what do we do with that data? We report it. We make it publicly available. So you can check out any of the Think College annual reports, I think starting in 2010 or 2011. So it's going on, yeah, over 10 years now. And I know that the NCC, the National Coordinating Center team, is hard working on the latest annual report, which will be out soon. And so they put out an amazing executive summary. If you don't want to go through the 20 or 30 page report, which it's highly graphic, so I do recommend it. It's really cool. But they'll give you a snapshot too. So you can always read the executive summaries on them. And they give you a really good snapshot of a sampling of the programs nationally. And then on the right side of the screen, you can see some of our other types of publications. We have insight briefs, fast facts, grab and goes, how to think college. We have a plain language series, and then of course our stories about students. So we have all kinds of pubs there for you. And say you're even a program director looking to do some research, we have a team that would love to talk about research and evaluation of your program. And so it's led by Claire Papé, but any of us can help support research around IPSE. We also do a lot of policy and legislation support and partner heavily with the Association of University Centers on Disabilities, or AUCD. And so we have Denise Roselle and Liz Weintraub are both consultants on our project, and they really help. Liz does a lot of our student advocacy work, and it's amazing. And then Denise helps us stay informed on, and also helps support the development of new legislation and policy at the state level to support these programs. And of course, shouldn't take too much time here because Florida pretty much has it going on when it comes to state support from your legislator for IPSE. But if you were wondering, we do keep tabs on that and put it out there publicly available so you can see what's happening in other states. And I would say probably about 15 to 20 states have legislation around inclusive post-secondary ed, and Florida was one of the first, and obviously it's very robust, so it's awesome. Say you're looking to connect with others in your region. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I talked about regional alliances. In the US, there's currently 3 active regional alliances. They started actually in the Southeast. The Southeast Post-Secondary Alliance was the first. And one of our models of sustainability for the network is to develop more regional alliances so that every IPSE program knows that they have somebody at the state level that they can go to for support, just like you all do for the Florida Center, but that they also have a regional community too, in addition to the national community that Think College builds. And so I can't say it enough, but you all are lucky because you have both a really strong state alliance and an amazing regional alliance too. And so I wondered, how many of you are familiar with SEPSEA, the Southeast Post-Secondary Ed Alliance? You can raise your hand, put a little note in the chat. Have you heard of it? Okay, a couple. Good. That makes me happy. Cool. Well, if you haven't, I really highly encourage you going to sepsea.org and just clicking around, or you can check them out on Facebook. I think they also have Instagram. And they're basically a group of states. You can kind of see the states here on the map in the Southeast. And we keep adding people. Kentucky wanted to join. I think Texas wanted to join at one point. We had to, keep it within the Southeast. And just a way to connect with others. I know that there's an amazing community of inclusive post-secondary programs in Florida. I just highly encourage you to also get to know your neighbors too. Some of my, best IPSE friends are in Tennessee or Georgia or Louisiana. And so this slide just summarizes some of the benefits of why you might want to join. You do get discounted rates on registration for their amazing conference, which I'll talk about in a minute. But just a great way to network. They have a couple different committees that you can get involved in. And it's just a great way to sort of expand your IPSE specific professional network. They also do different types of meet and greets, networking, and they have some professional development opportunities available too. And I mentioned their conference. It's coming up in May 18th through 19th in Nashville, Tennessee. And it kind of rotates around the Southeast. Last year it was in Auburn, Alabama, but this year, awesome Nashville, Tennessee. Lipscomb University is hosting it. And you can find out all the information on their website. I think their call for proposals has already closed, but you could always attend, get a feel for the content, and then submit something next year. I know that they would love more proposals, especially from Florida, since we have so many amazing programs here. And I just think it's kind of a more grassroots conference than a really big, state-of-the-art conference or some of the other conferences you might go to that are national. It's big, like, don't get me wrong, but it's not overwhelming. Like, you still feel like you can make some really great connections. Alrighty, any college faculty and staff on the meeting? Looks like maybe one or two. Or like probably a lot of people wear several different hats that are on this meeting. And I totally get that. That was me too. So, just thinking about how to get more folks on your campus to know about including people with intellectual disabilities. Something that might be particularly interesting to either program directors or people that the faculty involved in programs is the fact that program accreditation standards are now available for these programs. And the National Coordinating Center is actually working on putting together an accrediting body, an organization that will work on accreditation for these programs. So we're not quite there yet, but we're quickly moving in that direction. And you can find the standards on this website link. And this is good for anybody, events and webinars. You can just right on our homepage, you'll see a section for events. And we try to list not only ours, but other organizations' events that are related. And you can see the date, location, whether costs are involved, and so on and so forth. All right, I mentioned public awareness campaign. We are launching a national public awareness campaign in April. And the purpose and really goal is to make a campaign that will help every existing program, also help more programs more institutions of higher ed want to start programs, and make more students and families aware that these opportunities exist. And hopefully there will be more opportunities. So very, very broad. We're going to ensure we have resources for transition and K-12 educators, faculty, staff, and administrators at colleges and universities, and then of course, students and families. And really exciting, the ways and formats that we're going about it. We'll have a whole week of virtual events. So it'll be like a week of learning. And stay tuned for details on that. And I'll be sure to share, of course, with the Florida Center, and they'll be able to share that information with you all too. Everything will be free and totally accessible, also recorded, so you can come back to it later. And we're excited. We're right in the middle of filming for a really amazing campaign video, and we're working with Dan Habib. You might be familiar with, he's a documentary filmmaker who made most recently the Intelligent Lives and My Disability Roadmap movies. Some more information to come. And one other exciting area of our work with the network project is examining areas that are sort of underserved in terms of including people with intellectual disability. And taking a look around the nation, we quickly saw that career and technical education was one of those areas, except in Florida, where of the maybe 13 or 14 programs nationally, 11 are in Florida. So we quickly wanted to pick up the phone and reach out to Janice and Drew and see how we could collaborate so we can help spread that knowledge and resources across the nation and get more CTE programs to open the doors for people with intellectual disability. And then we're also similarly with employment partnerships, helping to increase that collaboration between colleges and universities and those agencies that support employment like VR or DD councils, and then also employers. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Drew, and he'll talk more about the CTE work group.
Okay, thanks, Danny.
Yeah.
Well, the collaborative work group, the four major things that we're doing, the first step was to identify membership. And so we have a lot of national folks as well as some state folks. And that group is continually, members are leaving the group and new members are joining the group. And so that information is on the Think College Inclusive Higher Education Network of the members. We're trying to collect information from the work group on how to work with CTE programs to create access and support for students with intellectual disabilities. And then looking at how do we disseminate training and materials and resources on those promising practices to work with CTE programs for students with intellectual disabilities, while providing technical assistance and participating in capacity building institutes. So, some of the goals that we had and are working on first was to identify successful practices. And, we certainly were able to do that in Florida with the things that we're doing, along with what are some of the barriers. And you see all of the different elements there. Current resources that are really working to support people. And then, what other credentials might need to be developed. In outreach, we're reaching out to existing stakeholders and engaging them to build upon existing practices and resources, to, really trying to increase awareness among all of our technical colleges and our state colleges that have career technical education components. And then we're working on developing and disseminating resources to raise awareness. And we've been doing a lot of social media on student success and different videos where students are sharing the programs that they're in and the credentials that they're earning, as well as there's lots of needed resources and tools, because this is something that will eventually, we're working in Florida and outside of Florida. So this is not just, although they're working with the Florida Center, this is nationwide, and we want to be able to share with others how we're making this work so that we can see more students have access to career tech programs nationwide. So as Danny mentioned earlier, she mentioned the affinity groups, and there's also a career and technical education affinity group. And you see that our next meeting is February 21st. And then we have one May 16th, and those are both at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And some of the topics that we're going to be addressing are topics that the group has brought up. And so it's professional development opportunities, what credentials are students earning, transportation, connections with VR, lessons learned while developing programs, pre-ETs and in career technical education, partnerships with employers, and even down to the curricula that's being used. So if you can, join in, because we'd love to learn from you as well as to know what questions you have.
That's awesome. Thanks, Drew. We appreciate your leadership on all things CTE and really helping us broaden across the nation, and hopefully CTE will take off like it has in Florida for people with intellectual disabilities. So a few more slides. Maybe you're interested in VR and building those VR partnerships. And so we have the employment partnerships group that I talked about, the new work group that's focusing on that. We also have several consultants that focus and are former VR professionals at the state level. We have Russ Talene and also Neil McNeil, and they both work more at the policy and sort of systems change level with regard to VR. But they've had a lot of success working with programs and also state and regional levels in helping strengthen partnerships with VR. So it's really, really exciting. You might just be more like in general, just want to make sure I'm staying up with the latest on inclusive post-secondary ed. And so just keep our website bookmarked. Visit us frequently. We have, again, if you go to the resources section of our website, we have those resource by topic pages, like I mentioned. Some popular pages are paying for college, voc rehab, employment, program development, and also we have a whole section on accreditation. And then our whole website is also searchable. So if you're looking for something in particular, and just also want to mention, if you don't find it, you can email me, you can email the just general Think College email. And we pride ourselves in being really responsive and getting back to you and helping you get your hands on the resources that you're looking for. And also that can include connections, not just, an actual publication or document, but making a connection with another program person. It might be across the nation that is doing the work that you're thinking about or had questions about. This snapshot just features some of our different publications and resources we have. We have everything from really in-depth looks at issues like our insight briefs to fast facts, which are like 1 or 2 pages, very quick. We have a grab and go series that's very specific to coaches and mentors and just sort of getting what you need to get into the field and get things done. We have those data reports that you saw from the NCC. We have a how-to series, How to Think College, which is like kind of like a to-do sheet on how to do something specific within this field. And then of course our student stories and other handy guides. So all kinds of things there for you. And again, these are all free. You can download them, you can print them, you can share them. Just give us credit if you ever cite us or use us. And then we have a robust resource library where all of our pubs, but also all kinds of different publications and samples from other programs across the nation. They're all logged in our robust resource library, which is searchable. You can browse by topic, you can sort by what kind of file or media type it is, our pub type, whether it's something that we put out or if it's something that we've collected or has been shared with us. So we're always adding resources there. So I encourage you to take a look. Also, communication flows both ways. We really want to hear from you. It's amazing when we hear about state level or program level successes or even student level successes. And so we have a whole dissemination team. Here you can see Rebecca, Sheila, Aaron, and Sarah. And they are always working behind the scenes to put the newest and greatest out. And they love to hear student stories, program stories, anything you can imagine that you might want to share. We can help get that out there. Here's sort of the instructions. But again, you can email Rebecca Lazo, or you can just email me or our help desk, and we'll get you to who needs to know so we can get the word out. And again, it can be anything. Is it something your program has done that's really exciting? Is it research that you've recently shared? Is it a student level achievement? We want to know. We also, both centers have a newsletter. The network news comes out quarterly, and you can email the email address here, thinkcollege@umb.edu. And in particular, we're looking for events, and they can be state level or even like smaller than state level, like more local level, or especially if they're virtual. Updates, announcements, employment opportunities. If you all are ever recruiting for your programs, we want to know about that. We have a student section as well. So we're featuring a lot of news from the field in our network news. And the National Coordinating Center has a monthly newsletter too. And there's all kinds of stuff they feature too. They love to highlight student stories in their newsletter. So always looking for that. Has anyone heard of IPSE Day? It's kind of a newer thing. Last couple of years, it's been celebrated. Anyone heard of it? Last year, we celebrated it in mid-May. I think we were at DCDT in Myrtle Beach. Okay, a few people said they've heard of it. So we're really going to try to knock it out of the park this year and go all out. And IPSE Day will be May 1st. Think College will have a social media toolkit, so you'll know exactly what to do, what to share, who to share it with, when to share it, the logos to use, everything you'd ever want to know for IPSE Day. And it will be at this link. Actually, it's probably already up. So we're really, really excited. So we hope that each program across the nation will help us celebrate IPSE Day. And it actually started in the Southeast, interestingly, and we're taking it national with Think College. And then this slide just talks about how you can get connected to our mailing list. And you're also always welcome to email us, and we can connect you and add you to our mailing list. And so you might be wondering, like, okay, there's 2 centers, there's all these staff, this wild looking staff, clearly. So who do I contact with questions? I'll put my email in the chat box. You're welcome to contact me at any time, but you can also email just thinkcollegeta@gmail. Several people monitor that email address, and we'll get you connected based on the question or request that you have, and you'll get an answer in 1 to 2 days. And that's all for me. Were there any questions or comments or anything I can help with?
Feel free to unmute yourself, or if you want to write in the chat box, you can do that either way, but feel free to ask Danny questions, or if you have a question for myself.
I know it was a lot of information. So the main goal was just to share that there's lots of resources and support available. And we're happy to hear from you.
Well, Danny, I'd like to thank you for sharing so much information. Think College is doing a lot. And what a great overview of everything and ways for us to find more information on what's going on nationally and the resources that you all have available, which are all such good resources. We love working with the National Coordinating Center and with the New Inclusive Higher Education Network.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks for having me.
I want to let folks know that there's an evaluation that has been posted in the chat window. And if you have the time right now, we would appreciate you completing that, because we want to know ways that we can make our webinars better, topics that you would like for the future,